Come on. Oh, we're in frame. I get to I get to ride one of these for the first time ever. I'm super excited, and roll that intro. That's awesome. All right, so for the first time ever, I get to ride an Indian Challenger, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I know I work for a Harley-Davidson dealership. I love Harley-Davidsons, but I love motorcycles more than I do just one brand. So I am a motorcycle enthusiast. So in this video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of an Indian Challenger versus, I guess, a Road Glide, because this is what it is competing with. So let's see that highlight reel, shall we? Alright, so I gotta be honest with you, I am yet to ride this motorcycle. I literally just went from like over there, that building, to out here into this open parking lot. So not a lot of riding done yet on it, but we will get to that here later in the video. Right now, I'm just gonna give you my first impressions of this motorcycle as it sits, just looking around, being around the industry for quite a while. There's certain things that you kind of look for automatically, not really intentionally, just kind of do. And well, I'm gonna start with this outer fairing, because it seemed like something that a lot of people loved and hate about this motorcycle. Some people love it. It looks different. It obviously looks different. To a lot of people, it looks like a headlamp straight from Harbor Freight or Amazon, which I can also see that. There's a lot of jokes that go around about this fairing, and to be quite honest, I'm a little indifferent. Obviously, I like the shark nose of a Road Glide a lot better. It's just a personal preference. It's nothing that you can really be objective about. However, it seems like the lighting is actually quite nice. Being inside the building and turning the lights on and just kind of seeing and comparing it to a Road Glide, the lighting is actually not bad. Pretty good lighting overall. And of course, we're gonna from there talk about that inverted front end. I quite frankly have no idea yet what it feels like, but we'll find out here shortly. Obviously more performance oriented with the whole performance bagger movement happening right now. Is this what Indian was going for, like a more performance oriented motorcycle, or an actual cruiser, which baggers tend to be? So is this motorcycle confused or trying to be something else? Now, one of the things that I'm actually kind of curious about is this doesn't have trailing forks like a Road King or a Road Glide or a Street Glide. Anything real touring chassis based for Harley-Davidson has a trailing fork setup. This doesn't look like it does, and I'm really curious how that's gonna be once we get out there and ride. Now, obviously Harley-Davidson did that for purposes of actually cruising and touring, going the long distance, because what ends up happening is all that forward motion is pulling back on those forks as opposed to pushing those forks, which is what you would see like on a Dyna or a Softail. So you want trailing forks for comfort more than anything. Just pulls on that suspension. It's nice, smooth. It also allows you to be a little bit more aggressive doing really tight radius turns, like you see something out of like a police rodeo. Then again, there's nothing really wrong with the fork setup that's on this motorcycle, and like in any other Softail or a Dyna or even a Sportster, which is leading forks, which you're basically pushing as opposed to pulling on that suspension, and allows you to, you know, control the bike in a different manner. The other thing that I'm really curious about, and I can already tell you I'm not a big fan of, is these bars, the way that they come all the way back away from the triple tree. I kind of have a feeling that it's just, the control is not gonna feel the same. Obviously, I don't know if that's a bad or a good thing. I have a feeling that it won't be necessarily a good thing, but that is one of my concerns. Obviously, the infotainment system is something that Indian is very proud of. Just a little bit that I got to mess with it. It's actually pretty intuitive, and I do like a lot of it. There's a couple things that I don't like about it. We'll get to that in a little bit. The controllers on this motorcycle, they just look and feel bulky. Like on the Pan America, it also feels big and bulky, so this is kind of similar, except there's a lot less buttons on this, so there's a lot of empty surface. Not really sure how I feel about that. And the design and display and how everything is set up is also very different from a Road Glide. All right, obviously the one thing that this is way better than a Road Glide is this powertrain, and when I say way better, obviously I mean in power output, because this is, I believe it's an overhead cam design. It's liquid cooled, so nothing like an air-cooled V-twin. Very different, but it puts some awesome numbers, and of course this is why everybody loves this platform. Now, as amazing as this is one of my personal pet peeves about Indians in general. This little section right here just does not look good. It's just like this whole bunch of blah from here to here. I think they could have done something better right there. Yeah. And last but not least, and I promise you, I know there's things that I do not like about this motorcycle, but I'm sure that I'm not gonna hate it. I'm just pointing out the stuff that I've noticed in the past on other Indians, that Harley is a little bit better than Indian, but I'm sure there's some other things that I'm about to find out that are actually quite amazing about this motorcycle. So don't quite tune out. I'm not hating on Indian. That's not what I'm doing. Let's just keep going, because this is one thing, these bags are actually one of the things that I don't quite like about Indians, is the fact that the fit and finish just doesn't quite feel as snug. It feels a little flimsy, like the lids specifically feel a little flimsy. They do feel slightly more rigid than the previous design that they had, when it was like the bubbly round bags, which I definitely did not care for. But I definitely think this is the system that they have to like open it, where you just push up here and then just pull. Very, very effective, a very non-Harley way of doing it, because Harley has those little toilet-looking levers. I think it could have come with a better design for that, but this is actually pretty good. Not that I say that the one-touch bags on a Harley are bad, it's just those little levers, they really look like they belong on a toilet to flush. Yeah. So let's get to riding. First time I ever got an Indian, it took me a second to realize what was happening here, because there's a power button down there, but that actually turns it on, so kickstand is up. Oh, thank you. All right, so all these subjective stuff to the side. Oh man, yeah, I will give him that. All right, so the motor, first impressions, of course, plenty of power, which that's kind of what we all expected. Nothing new there, but it is it feels pretty linear. Now I need to slow down here, because my Arlington PD friends love to hang out in this area, right in this stretch. But anyways, one thing that I forgot to mention while we're out there was this seat definitely has like that Saddleman step-up seat vibe, and I actually really like this seat. It's comfortable, good lower back support, and man, that's one thing that that's the one thing that I think they screwed up with the and basically most of the baggers that Harley puts out. Seats are just not this comfortable, and especially for the passenger. This one is pretty flat, doesn't have like some weird like curve to it. So I need to like give it a couple more pulls to get a better feel for this motor. I'm trying to figure out where the happy place for this motor is, what RPM range it is. Right now we're at 3,000. This is actually, so the seating position is actually pretty comfortable. I'm about 6 foot, and I don't feel like super stretched out or cramped in. I would say like the infotainment system feels slightly closer than a Road Glide, and I do dig that quite a bit. And I feel like you would need to, let's see, is how well is this touchscreen? Yeah, I mean, it's super sensitive with thick gloves, the thick little gloves that I have right now. I feel like, oh my god. Woo! Love it. Absolutely love it. Alright, I just confused the music button thing over here for the turn signal. So I'm still not quite situated with the hand controllers. But right out the gate, suspension is actually really nice. I don't mind it at all. I think the suspension on the rear is probably a little more comfortable on a Harley than this.
but I can only imagine this being a monoshock design that it probably handles a little bit better. That front suspension actually feels pretty good. I was afraid that that is like the most addicting part of this motorcycle. I will say right out the gate that front suspension is actually pretty confidence inspiring. I feel like that makes up for the way that these bars are set up, because it's just in the parking lot. I didn't feel as confident as if it was like on a street glide or a road glide or even a road king for that matter. And I say even a road king. Road kings are probably like the most handling and inspiring out of all three, but just because of how the bars and the whole setup is. But with that said, I think if this had trailing suspension, it would be a little bit more comfortable on the highway. Just here around the street, it just does not feel the same. Now this is kind of a subjective thing on my end, but just seeing how far those bars go and how far that neck is, it's just, I don't know, it just feels weird. The other thing that I can say that I don't know how I feel about necessarily is these cubby holes on the bottom. They're just kind of like, I definitely have to stretch for those, and I feel like those should be a little bit more accessible. But I think on the road glide, that's probably better on the road glide than it is on this bike. The powertrain is absolutely fantastic. I really like this motor a lot, like a lot. I think the verdict on this bike is it has a lot of cool things, like the moving windshield, like these things lock, even the gas cap locks, which I think is a pretty neat feature. I've never been worried about that, but it's nice to have stock from factory. But it seems like Indian or Polaris, however you want to look at it, has focused more on the powertrain, just obviously overhead cam, all that kind of stuff, design, powertrain, little like features like that. So I get that is pretty cool. What I do not like is that it's obvious that they spent all their money on that. The infotainment system is great, the motor is great, it shifts great, but like the plastics, like on the saddlebags, like the pegs, they just don't feel like they're quite quality, and that's definitely not a fan. So definitely not a bad motorcycle. It's definitely a really good motorcycle. But I'm really confused as to, like, is this supposed to be like a performance bagger out of the box because it doesn't have trailing suspension and it's a monoshock design? Or is it meant to be used for cruising, which a touring bike should be? And I don't know, even the whole performance bagger thing is a little funny. It's cool, but it's kind of funny because they're doing stuff with the bikes that are not designed to do that. One more thing before I end this video is I love that they have the heel shifter still. That's one of the things that bothers me about Harley, is that they got rid of that, but that's just me. So if you like this content, and if you like or dislike what I said, let me know in the comments below. If you like content about cars, adventures, motorcycles, all that jazz, like, subscribe, all that cool stuff. And until see you next time, get on your Harley, I would normally say, or on two wheels, and get some wind therapy. Later.